Okay, let's go back to one here. Who are you again?
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is Burning Somewhere for October 7th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns. Sitting right over there, her portion of the podcast will all be a musical today. I'm happy to tell you. Go for it, Ash. Let me cue you in there with some music. Hey, say hi to Ashley, everybody. It's Ashley.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to everybody who is not depending on investment money from Joker Part 2. Happy Monday to you.
Yeah, it did not do well. Well, here's the thing. It is getting hammered in the ratings. So it got a D cinema score. It has like a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, both the critical tomato meter and the audience popcorn meter. They're both very low. So there's like a consensus across the board, both critics and people who've gone to watch it saying, I didn't think this was great. It also stumbled, shall we say, in the domestic U.S. box office. It's done an estimated $40 million, which is still good, in my opinion.
To talk about a movie being a failure when it's made how much now with the global box office total?
That's the thing, is it actually did much better overseas than it did in the U.S. It did another estimated $80 million internationally. So for a combined global total of $120 million for its opening weekend, and people are saying that it's a total failure.
It's only $40 million a day. For
Right. Well, the thing is, this movie cost a lot more to make. So Joker 1 had a budget of $65 million-ish. This one cost $200 million to make. So it still hasn't made back its production budget.
Do you know how much the original Joker made at the box office?
How much?
It made $1.1 billion, rounding up from 1.078.
What?
$1.1 billion
Seriously?
at the box office.
I mean, I knew that
it
it was very well received, that people liked it. A lot of people went to see it, but I did not realize it did quite that well.
It was the highest grossing ever R-rated film, Joker, the original one. More on that in a second. But but it is. I never thought I'd be at a point in my life where I would be looking at something that made $100 million in a weekend and talking about it like it's a huge bomb. I just didn't think that would be possible.
Well, I wonder how much of that has to do with, given its sort of low reception scores, the people thinking it's not a great movie, that a lot of that is then hoping that it fails. And in the U.S. box office, I suspect they were hoping for more than a $40 million opening. But having an international opening of $120 million, it's hard to call it a failure, except that it cost so much to make. This isn't a Marvel movie with like superheroes like flying through space. This is like a sort of very grounded, they used, real
musical.
sets. It's a musical, that's true. Those licensing costs.
Well, you got Lady Gaga in there, so you can get all of her library, I guess, for free. Or as part of the deal. Yeah, it's interesting to me because we talked about this before. Ashley, I was looking at our handy dandy transcription database.
Available to all Patreon members, $5
Patreon
and up.
members have, yeah. And we talked about this. We talked about it a couple different times. But we came back to the conversation in late July. We said it was pretty clear to us that they were trying to lean away from the audience that they found when they made Joker. I don't know why that would surprise anybody, the people who were going to go into Joker. It does seem very much like the Taxi Driver, Donnie Darko, V for Vendetta, like that crowd was going to go and like the Joker, the gritty, realistic, sympathetic Joker movie, right?
Right.
But I feel like the people who made the movie didn't like the audience they got, and they were leaning away from it. That's what we felt like in July.
Yeah, well, it seemed like there was some sort of disconnect between the message that the director, Todd Phillips, was trying to convey with the movie and perhaps the message that people took from the movie.
Right.
And it seemed like he was frustrated by
that happens.
By what the audience took away from the movie that was maybe unintentional, or he was hoping that they would take something else away. So it seemed like he had some frustration with that audience, yes, and wanted to lean away from that and do something else with the property.
And I think, too, there's a lot of conspiracies out there. Like some people are saying like they intentionally tanked it or something like that. I did read a weird one that I haven't had time to go back and verify. But in the DC, whatever it's called, in the DC movie franchise, because I know there's like that's now the DCEU or whatever.
DCU?
No, the
now?
DCU is
don't
now
know.
the gun thing, which hasn't started yet.
Right.
Or
Is kicking off with Superman. I
all
think.
very confusing. Just stop making movies for like 5 years and then starting. Best way. But Black Adam was seen as this sudden like huge dip in the box office for the DC films. But since Black Adam has come out, that's the Rock's movie. Since that movie has come out, no DC movie has done better than Black Adam at the box office. Like
Whoa.
Black Adam in opening weekend.
I mean, what's come out? I guess there was Shazam
Flash was
2.
in there.
That's true. There was Shazam was a Fury of the Gods. I mean, they're in the middle of rebooting the whole DC thing, but once they
Blue Beetle's in there.
announced, once they announced sort of that they were gonna reset the universe, it seemed like it destroyed the stakes for a lot of people, and they thought, why tune in?
But who knows? And reportedly now, the Superman movie they're making is up to a $350 million budget. It's been refuted.
Whoa.
It's been refuted by James Gunn. I don't know. I believe it. You know what I mean? I believe that it could be ballooning up to that. If Joker Part 2 is $200 million, I mean, I haven't seen it, but based on the first one, they're not, like you said, they're not flying through space or anything like that, right?
I feel like there's something weird going on with Hollywood spending at the moment and with budgets in general. Like everyone just, I don't know, cracked open the piggy banks and the spending has gone absolutely insane. That was one of the big headlines around the Acolyte TV series that Disney did that was canceled after the one season. And the report is that it cost $22 million to make per episode for an 8-episode show. And I've watched...
Canceled after the first season.
Yes. And as much as I'd want something like that to be a success, because I know that Manny Jacinto is in it and he will forever have my heart because he was amazing in The Good Place, $22 million an episode is too much to be sustainable, even for Star Wars.
By the way, DC films that have come out since Black Adam: Shazam, Fury of the Gods, you got it. The Flash, Blue Beetle, Aquaman. There was an Aquaman movie in there.
Oh, right.
And then Joker Part 2. None of them has done as well as Black Adam did in its opening weekend, which is scary.
That is pretty crazy. So I assume that they're hoping to turn that around with Superman, trying to kick off this sort of new era of DC. So I can see why they would put a lot of budget into that to try to make it pay off. But I just don't know that funneling dollars into things is enough to make them a success. They actually need to be good. What is going to be interesting to see is how many people go see it next weekend and what the drop-off is after the overall reception.
Yeah, to me, it's like, just don't make the second movie. You know what I mean? If you don't like it and you don't like the audience or you think it was received wrong or something, just definitely don't make a way more expensive second version of that movie. You know what I mean? Let me compare it to something else. So I told you earlier that Joker was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. Came out in 2019, $1.1 billion. It knocked off, Ashley, can you name the movie that it knocked off that was the highest grossing R-rated movie before it?
Deadpool?
It was Deadpool 2. That's right. Deadpool 2 had made $785 million. Now, Oppenheimer's in here as well. I didn't even know that Oppenheimer was an R-rated movie, but it took the crown in 2023. But it doesn't matter because what came back and reclaimed the crown was Deadpool. This franchise came with an iteration this summer as well, made $1.3 billion with Deadpool and Wolverine. I would argue, you look at the two different R-rated franchises here, Deadpool and Wolverine, they leaned so much more into what made that movie successful. I would also argue to their detriment because it was way over the top with all the Sony references and Disney references and things like that.
It was a bit much. It was tolerable because the whole thing was a fun ride, but I do hope that they tone that down just a tiny bit in the next iteration.
The fourth wall stuff, I thought, got a little out of control, but you can't argue with the results because now it's reclaimed the crown with $1.3 billion. Deadpool and Wolverine is now the number one highest grossing R-rated film of all time. I don't think Joker 2 is going to put that in jeopardy.
I don't think so either, especially given where it started and where I suspect the momentum will go.
Well, people could show up to the box office. They could see that Megalopolis is sold out, and then they go see Joker 2. It's been kind of a crazy summer. There's been a lot of record-setting successful movies this summer, and then some incredible bombs. And some bombs that you wouldn't see coming either. You wouldn't see how this one could fail, and then it did. I mean, like, it seems like a lot of these bombs, like Borderlands or Joker 2, it's so hard to talk about Joker 2 being a bomb, but that's what they're calling it. Joker 2, Megalopolis, any one of those movies in its own year would have been the biggest bomb of the year, right?
Right.
And now
And
it's
it would
like
have
there's
been
just so many of them.
astonishing.
Right. Or Horizon, like that's another one.
Furiosa.
Yeah, all these would have been what's it called? The Golden Raspberry or whatever. Like that would have been the story that year. By the way, in the DC list of films, just before Black Adam was
Is it the Golden Raspberry?
Batgirl. They still have Batgirl on that list.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Does it count as a bomb if it didn't even get released?
Big asterisk on that one. Not currently appearing in your picture, Batgirl. I wonder if that'll ever make the light of day. What do you think?
I don't know. Do you think like someone will ever just, I don't know, put it out there?
I don't know.
Just upload it to like the Internet Archive?
Somebody who was working from home and just saved it. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Like the Toy Story animator.
Yeah, like the Toy Story animator. Yeah. You would think, too, that would be a thing that people would think about with killing all the work from home projects, is that Toy Story 2 was saved by somebody who was on maternity leave and took a copy of the film home. Right? Was it Toy Story 2?
And then basically saved the project and recently made headlines for getting laid off.
Oh, that's right. She got laid off.
Yeah, it's a bummer. You'd think that's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, you would think that would be like for life at that point, but I guess that does run out after
That's
20 years.
If you can come in and bring a copy of the movie in, you get equity in the company.
That kind of sort of sucks.
So I want to talk about something a little bit different, but it involves, similarly, theft of finance.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going to reveal something to me? No, Did you click on a link in your email, Ashley?
So there's this prince, and he
Stop.
just no. There's a headline I'm going to read to you, and I just want your immediate gut reaction.
I just need another $10,000, and we'll get those. What are they called? 429 scams?
Is that what they are?
Something. There's some number. Every time we talk about them, I have to remember what the number is. But they're always. If you read the accounts of people who get sucked into those Nigerian prince scams, it's always so fucking sad. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay, headline. Famous AI artist says he's losing millions of dollars from people stealing his work.
What?
Yes. So
I can think of like 5 things wrong with that sentence.
So
what?
There's this guy. His name's Jason M. Allen, and he submitted an image that he generated via like one of those AI art programs, Midjourney. He submitted this to a Colorado digital art competition a few years ago and won. And he's now very upset because you remember last year or I think it was last year or the year before that, the U.S. Copyright Office ruled that AI generated material doesn't have copyright protection because there wasn't a human involved in authorship.
Can I ask you a question about that?
You may.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that ruling?
No, I think it's accurate. If you don't make it, then how do you protect it?
It seems like to me a good solution provided by the government of, yeah, okay, well, you can make these things, but you can't copyright it. You can still make money from it, right?
Right. It's not stopping anyone from profiting on it, but it is stopping you from protecting it because you didn't make it.
It's literally stopping no one from profiting on it. Everybody can profit on it.
Right.
If they
Well,
want to.
that's what this guy's really upset about. He says that people are like stealing it and selling prints of it on Etsy, and they're basically stealing his money. You know what the art piece is called? Théâtre d'Opéra Spécial.
Damn it. That was going to be the name of the third Joker movie. Now they got to go back to the writer's room and figure it out.
Joker 3 coming exclusively from Midjourney.
That'd be awesome if they took his name. They just, what a pretentious ass name for an AI piece of art. God.
Yeah. So he's filing all these petitions and appeals.
He probably got that from Google Translate.
Probably from this Colorado in this Colorado court, trying to basically like overturn the U.S. Copyright Office's ruling. He's saying it's not fair because he's not making as much as he could because other people are also selling the AI art.
Oh no! Oh, this is a tragedy.
I know.
Let me use ChatGPT to generate a really somber violin tune. While we talk about this, yeah, I don't feel bad about that. It's weird. I there's a lot of opinions out there about AI art. I think this is a pretty good solution. Of If you make something and you're lucky enough to make money from it, you're not going to be able to copyright it because, you typed a couple of words into a thing.
I mean, he said that he did just some touch up in Photoshop, and then that he did some other work in another program that was also an AI program.
Oh, okay.
Gigapixel AI. So it says he spent time editing with Photoshop and Google Gigapixel AI.
Gigapixel AI. I don't know what that is, but
I don't know what that is either.
I'm going to guess it's an AI tool, though.
Sounds like it.
Based on the name. Photoshop now has AI tools in it too. Like they have that generative fill where you can just
it does. You can
fill in the background,
right? Or if there's someone in the background of your picture, you can sort of select them and it can remove them, and that's interesting.
Do you know there's a whole subreddit on Reddit where people just submit photos and make Photoshop requests, and then they pay the top voted one? I
didn't know about the pay element, but I have seen some stuff like that, and I've always found it very interesting.
It's not required,
as someone who's been very bad at trying to do those sort of Photoshop patching in the past. I've never got the hang of it. So seeing that you can just circle something now and remove it is amazing. But there's something to the craft of people who are really good at removing stuff in the background of Photoshop just by themselves.
Yeah. And usually it's can you remove my ex? Can you remove these people in the background? There used to be that guy who would do the funny email exchanges where people would request Photoshop changes to him, and then he would get them all wrong or take them too literally or something like that.
He was like the monkey paw of Photoshop requests.
Yeah, but it was now that guy doesn't have any more content because there's, a million monkeys out there with Photoshop who are doing it anyway.
Well, what might have protected it a little bit better is if they had a nice, safe password.
Oh, I said this to our group chat. They are now saying that the current guidance of put a bunch of random characters and special characters and capital characters and numeric characters, that is not going to make your password more secure. You really just have to go, Ashley, for length. That's what you have to go for.
So length does matter?
Length in the case of cybersecurity matters. Size matters. XKCD did a cartoon about this years ago, which was talking about the entropy of just a multi-word password. I want to say it was something like clown car jump around or something like that. And he used that as an example versus using the what do you call it? The camelback? What do you call the capitalizing?
Camel case.
Camel case?
Where you have a series of words all mushed together, and then you just capitalize the first letter in each word, so they're still distinguishable as individual words, but they're one word.
Or you're a really smart guy, and you're like, oh, I'm going to use, instead of an A, I'm going to use the @ symbol. Or instead of a E, I'm going to use a 3. That'll really throw them off.
You know what we should do for our passwords? It's all 100% generated in elite speak.
Oh, God. Yeah, 1337.
Oh,
it's so funny. Does Gen Z have a number? They have a number that they're obsessed with?
69.
No, you think that? I think it's more. I think it's more millennials or 420 and 69.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but have Gen Z, have they skipped over that portion of the generational experience?
Gen Z listener in the singular. Weigh in. Do you have any numbers you're obsessed with?
Well, we had 1337. I feel in the early days of the internet, and people were obsessed with 1337. That's probably been lost to time, right?
Right. If you were to just walk up to someone on the street and you could say 1337, if they're our age, they're yeah. They know it. If you walk up to my mom, she's not going to know what that is.
And if you walk up to anybody who's under the age of 35, they're going to be like, "Why are you saying weird numbers to me?"
Yeah.
But then if you say 420 or 69, they'll go, "Nice."
Nice. Let's do a test today. Just walk up to JD and just say 1337 and see what his response is.
Okay.
Report back tomorrow.
I'll do that. I can talk to him and ask him. Yeah, but now they're saying just use the longest possible password. One of the things I read said passwords up to 100 characters long.
Okay, well, let's not go
insane.
crazy. Look, a lot of sites are not going to take that.
No, most sites won't take that. I've tried to have extraordinarily long passwords, and when I try to have some very secure site. One of my pet peeves that I never understand is so many of the websites bug me and give me alerts constantly saying you need to add your phone number to this so that we can keep the security of your account, which I get if they want to call me to do it, if something happens to the account. But when I add my phone number, then on all my ultra secure passwords, like third-party authenticators or hardware encryption keys that I use, it goes, there's always a little option that goes, I don't have that. Can I just get a text to my phone? It's like, don't put that option on there. I don't want that option because that's a security flaw.
Right. Isn't text-based two-factor authentication one of the weaker forms?
Yeah, where someone can spoof your phone number and then they can actually get those texts themselves. And it's like, I would put my phone number into more of my accounts if that wouldn't automatically enter me into phone-based two-factor authentication. So I get rid of all that stuff.
Or just go ahead and sell your phone number off to whatever spam service is the paying the most.
I don't think people realize how unusable like the U.S. phone and mail system is. Like here in the UK, we have phone lines, mobile phone lines. We also have our mobile phone lines from the U.S. We still have those, right? What percentage of your U.S. texts and voice calls would you say are spam?
Oh, like 100%? I get
insane.
Calls on a daily or sometimes more than once a day. And almost all of them, thankfully, are flagged as spam risk. Not that I would answer them anyway, because I'm not about answering phones. That's not a thing that I do. If I don't have your contact saved, I'm not answering. But even so, almost everything I get, I'll see if they leave a voicemail, and if they leave a voicemail, it's important, I'll call them back.
Yeah.
No one leaves a voicemail. And I would say 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of the calls are already flagged as a spam risk.
Years ago on the Rashid podcast, I talked about how, I'm going to get a little gross here, bathroom stuff, how half the world stands up to wipe and the other half the world sits down to wipe.
You mean when they do a poo?
Yes. And the other half doesn't know that the other half exists. And immediately Barb and Gus reacted to it. Barb goes, people sit down to wipe? And Gus goes, people stand up to wipe? Or it's vice versa.
That's beautifully illustrative.
Yeah, and they didn't, like I said, nobody knew the other half existed. I don't think people in the UK realize just how bad text and voice spam on your phone is in the US. And I don't think the people in the US realize in the UK how we just don't really have it at all. We don't get it at all. I don't get it at all. And it's so strange. If my US number rings, it's always spam. And if I get any spam voice calls or anything like that or text, they're always on my US number and not on my UK number.
Same.
Could be a function of age. Doesn't feel like it to me. Okay, anyway, while we're talking about spam, Ashley, you should support our Patreon. Patreon.com/morning somewhere. Who do we have to thank for today's episode?
I would like to thank today's sponsors, Turner Neal and Frisco Flame. Thank you both for sponsoring our show at patreon.com/morning somewhere. You the real heroes.
Yes, thank you too. We will never call you and ask you for your password. All right, well, that does it for us today, October 7th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.
The name of the scam, by the way, is 419.